Hey, how's it going?
I have no idea if it's actually working or not.
It still says starting soon.
Oh yeah, ignore that. That's fine.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you might want to move your screen just a little bit towards the right.
That's that.
Oh no, I mean like a centimeter.
Starting.
Keep going. That's not a centimeter. That's a millimeter.
How's that?
Keep going. Keep going. Yeah, that's good.
Cool. I did the bottom. It's fine.
Okay, hello Caspian.
Hello, Joseph. So,
Um,
hey, first collaborative art live stream.
yeah, yeah. Please, somebody, let me know that you can hear both myself and Caspian.
Yeah, hopefully this is all working. It's all a bit confusing with the many different layers of OBS and streaming and sharing and God knows. But
It's wild. Yeah, it's really difficult, but it's nice to have you here. Hello.
oh, thank you, man. Yeah, I thought this sounded like a nice idea. So yeah, I've seen you've been doing these like drawing live streams. Joseph
Yeah.
invited me to see if we want to do the same kind of thing. I mean, obviously, I don't draw really because I suck
Whoa,
at that.
whoa. Hang on. Don't say that.
But
That's
I
that's
have other things that I can
yeah.
make using the computer.
Yeah, so Caspian and I every single day in school, we didn't do our actual lessons. We just drew in every
Yeah,
class.
pretty much. They're like geography, nah. History, nah. Just drawing.
Yeah, and it was lovely, and we got pretty good. We had completely different styles.
Mine was always like erratic and like quite
Yeah,
chaotic, kind of
like
like very
like your
sketchy.
handwriting.
Yeah, unintelligible.
But
But yeah, so I
I quit.
wasn't. Hmm,
I
we're doing
stopped drawing. Hello.
yeah, no, it's yeah. So I stopped as well. Really, I mean, like I kind of wanted to do graphic design for a long time, and then yeah, I sort of did that. I mean, I went to college thinking I wanted to do graphic design, like a lot of other people, and they kind of tricked you when you got there. They're like, ah, you think you're doing graphic design, but actually you're doing lots of things. And I'm quite thankful for that at Hastings College because he did push me down a path of doing 3D eventually. I was just did this like random week where they had like a guy that he 3D models jewelry using a software called Rhino, which is an interesting thing to use because it it's for making like ships, like like ferries and things like that. And
What
but like what he used,
like CAD
yeah,
for ships?
CAD. It's like a CAD like ship kind of thing. And yeah, they kind of like you make all these sort of like surfaces, and it's all kind of like mathematically perfect geometry, like they're sort of like made on NURBS, which are non-uniform rational Bezier splines, which is like it's kind of the equivalent of using like vector lines, but in 3D.
Yeah. Also, vector is way less precise than pixels.
No, opposite.
Nah.
Like a vector can be infinitely detailed,
Oh yeah, it
whereas,
can
whereas,
be,
whereas,
but it
whereas
never is.
well, I guess it depends on your graphics card. I remember that was always one of the things that were like, oh, you need to use these precision, like graphics cards in the industry so that you can actually get the proper uh, dimensions of things. But like, no one needs that level of precision. I
I
mean,
hadn't even
maybe
considered
if you're
that.
making a ship. Yeah, it's one of those like certain industry graphics cards are like thousands of pounds, like a Quadro versus like an RTX these days.
Yeah.
But I mean, unless you're making a ship and you don't want it to sink because the screw is slightly out of place, then I don't think you need it.
Also, RTXs are thousands and thousands of pounds now as well.
Well, yeah, God knows what CUDA would be these days. I've stopped paying attention
Yeah.
to all that.
What are you making today then?
So I'm using Houdini. So yeah, going on the whole 3D thing. I've been on a whole journey. I've been through multiple different softwares, but these days I like to use Houdini because it is fabulous. And I'm going to make a little environment. So I kind of like been describing it as sort of like 3D Bob Ross. It's just like it's something that I quite enjoy doing. It's kind of this nice little balance of like art and technology, and it's just quite fun.
Yeah, lovely.
How about yourself? What were you doing? You're carrying on with this
Shoggoth, yeah, we're still
Shoggoth.
on this. We're getting somewhere though.
Nice.
I finally got a bit of colour in the jellyfish, so I'm more happy with them.
Nice. So for me, I'm going to start off with one of these trees. I downloaded a set of trees. You can see it. And I go, okay, I quite like. Maybe I like that one better actually. I'm going to change my selection. Grab this one. I think it may have a path.
Can you like break bits off the trees and use bits?
Yeah, totally. If you want to. One thing that's quite interesting about Houdini and sort of quite of a changed mindset going from Maya, which I used before for a long time in the industry, to Houdini, is that it's more data, less so as an object.
You came through weird there. Can you just say that again?
So one thing that's like different with Houdini is that it's you treat 3D in a different way. You think of it in a different way. It's geometry. It's data driven rather than like an object driven in some ways. So like looking at this tree, I want to isolate it. So one way is you can just select all the faces and try and grab what you want. But another way is to look at the intrinsic properties that are, well, not intrinsic, but like they're the ones that are like set inside. So this is like a download that's been made. God knows where it's been made, but a lot of objects will have primitives, which are like kind of the faces, at least in geometry objects, and has a path. And this path says bark ___0. So rather than me just trying to fiddle around selecting all the bits, what I'm going to do is in the path in the group do at my Japanese keyboard. Path equals this. And now I've isolated everything that has that same bit of that's tagged with that same data.
And you can't do that in Maya?
No, not really. You can sort of program things, but like Maya, it's very hard to get like the attribute data that's kind of inside. You can sort of get to it on the shape nodes, but it's like it's not very intuitive and it's very kind of like hidden, and you kind of got to get a lot more into programming off the bat to kind of like work data driven. Whereas in Houdini, it's very visual. You have this node graph, and you can just kind of like make a graph of things and work your way down and go, okay, this is that, and oh, it has this attribute, so I'm going to do everything based off of this. Or like
I thought one of them had a node graph like that. Was it? Was it? No. Which one did I have? I had Maya, didn't I?
Yeah, Maya. There's a node graph for the shaders. Hypergraph or the node graph for that side of stuff, but yeah, typically the viewport is just working in
not for geometry.
Yeah, like you kind of just work in Maya. You typically kind of work directly on the geometry.
Yeah,
whereas in Houdini, like you it's kind of like I mean you sort of like I said, programmatically and all this stuff. So I did take a look at these trees before, and one of the things that's kind of difficult is that a lot of this stuff, like these bark elements, they're not all fused together, which means that it's quite hard to grab the leaves. because I can't. They'll just separate in pieces. But one thing that is actually very useful, at least what's been laid out in this tree, is the UVs have the tree and the leaves separated. So the UVs are kind of like the unwrapped version of the object. So like imagine if you like took like a world map and like splayed it out, like we were used to seeing a map instead of a globe. It's that kind of thing. It relates usually to like how textures get applied.
Yeah. I've made textures for UV maps.
Oh yeah. But one thing that you can do on this is I can make selections of things based off of the UVs. So select everything in this bottom half. Now I have a blank tree without all the leaves. Just lovely. So now I can do things with that.
Face textures are particularly horrifying.
Oh yeah. Like it reminds me of I don't know if you ever like opened up like the Sims like files back in the day, and you just see like all the texture files of the characters.
We would have done that together, probably.
Probably, yeah. Just dicking around, like seeing what's in there.
Yeah, we used to take apart everything we could.
It's a great way to understand stuff. Okay, so I need my leaps of my trunk. Now I can do some space stuff with this. So I'm gonna just give them some basic comments, just so that it's not working in a grey world.
Yeah, that's nicer, isn't it?
Yeah. I just say I'm very inspired by The Joy of Painting and Bob Ross, and it's one thing I quite like about doing environment kind of work is that it feels a lot like doing 3D Bob Ross,
Yeah. Have you done anything with lighting and stuff? So like, cyberpunky.
I love doing stuff like that. I did a 5-week internship for Unreal, like fellowship, and the whole thing that I made was just sort of this excuse to make a kind of a cyberpunk alleyway sort of thing, and that was quite a lot of fun. I mean,
you showed me your animation. That's on. Is that on? Do you still have your thing live?
I can't remember. I mean, I didn't think it was very good, so I didn't really share it very much. I think it's on YouTube or something somewhere.
Yeah.
It is live somewhere. I didn't take it down, I don't think. But I was just a bit like, nah, it's okay.
It was like, but it's an introduction. It's like a tutorial. It's like you followed the tutorial,
Yeah, exactly. So it's sort of like we had tutors teaching us Unreal, and I was really interested in using Unreal as a software because it's quite cool seeing sort of emerging real time kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's great. I spent a bit of time with it. The only thing I didn't like were what are they called? The characters.
Oh, metahuman.
Yeah, they just weren't. You couldn't grab nodes or something. There was something that I couldn't do that I wanted to do. I couldn't model them the exact way I wanted. Josh has said, "Woo, take your top off." So you better.
Oh yeah, I should get the stream up and then I can see comments. Yeah, so I have a happy little tree now. That's nice. So that's one of
I've
many.
got about 4 million happy little dots.
Oh yeah, I noticed that you're doing this sort of like dot kind of it's like cross hatching but with dots. It's like pointillism.
Yeah, I always do it, but usually I use a scatter brush and the Wacom. But this is just so much more chilled.
It's very therapeutic.
Yeah, it's obviously the slowest possible way you could do it, but whatever.
I've just opened the stream and I see Josh's comment, and then I've just got options: report and block.
Yeah, report and block him. Come on,
that's it.
Get him out of here.
Hey Josh, how you doing, man?
Yeah, I haven't, Josh. I haven't seen you in 100 years. When was the last time you saw each other?
We were up Josh's recently.
Oh.
It was Evie's birthday.
Mm.
It was good. We had a really nice time in the garden. Josh and Jack and everyone like built this like great big stack for archery practice.
Yeah, sick.
So I bought Josh like after we did a stag do, we did like all this like archery and like multi-activity kind of thing, like shooting and archery and all sorts. And we all really loved the archery. We were like, oh, this is great. We should do this. And
have you not done it before that?
I had done it on another stag do before, did some archery, which I thought was really good. And then I was like, oh, and that's what kind of gave me the idea. It's like, oh, I think everyone would love doing this, which totally does. And yeah, the archery was the most surprising because we knew we'd all like shooting guns and stuff like that, but like the archery bit was like everyone was like quite good at it, and it was just really fun. So I bought a target, and then he got a bow, and now every time we go up, pretty much do some like target practice.
That's great. It's a bit more interesting than shooting rifles because that's just point and click, whereas bow you get to do stuff and it's more tactile.
Yeah, exactly. But it was quite fun.
I haven't done it in a very long time, but I do really love it.
Yeah, that's great. Should hey, you're out in the wilderness. What's up a bow? Shoot some.
Yeah.
Wood.
There's a bit behind the garden, but hopefully we'll move back to town soon. We're trying.
Yeah. No, you're saying. Hopefully that works out soon. Just because it is a bit far away.
Yeah.
Like Josh was saying, I need to get one of those foam bears. Yeah. So like at this place that we did it originally, there was these not just like targets, but also like animals. They're a bit like dog toys kind of thing. And like there was this bear, and we spent age because it was like hanging. Its head was hanging on a thread. So it became our mission to try and decapitate it with arrows. So it was like, I don't know, it's quite a few of us, like 6, 7 of us, like all just firing arrows at this like neck.
Well,
it was great.
Poor foam bear.
I don't need to scale this so much. I'm just trying to, before I get too far, I just realised that maybe the scale of this tree is not quite right.
Oh yeah. Josh said they're £100 for a stuffed toy. Just buy stuffed toys.
Probably could actually, couldn't you? You could just or a dog toy. Like if you just went to like a pet shop, maybe that'd actually be better.
Yeah. Well, get me round. You can all use me as a target.
Oh, we'll use it. For fun.
Yeah.
So, okay, I think the tree's actually an okay scale. So I was just putting in a box. It's one thing that I usually kind of do for scales, that you know that roughly human size is about 1.8 meters.
So how big's your tree?
Bigger than that, but it looks about right. Like if I put it in a box, that's 1.8.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It's kind of, maybe it's a bit big.
No, that's fine.
It depends on the tree.
That one, that kind of tree looks like it would be big.
Yeah, big old pine tree.
Yeah.
Something like that. Looks like some kind of fern, but the leaves are just big planes at the moment. But it's fine for them. If you want to do it.
Have you ever been to the New Forest?
You know, I don't think I have. Been past it many times, but never actually went to it. I think you went a while back, didn't you?
Yeah, we went, and it was the best place I've ever been in my life, and we're going to go back every year. We went last year. You should go. It's just so nice.
Yeah, no, I definitely have to check it out. There's someone at work that I think is from around there. This is like a lot of people own horses, and I think his car broke down or something like that. He couldn't get there, so he rode a horse to work.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, his car probably didn't break down. There was probably just too many donkeys in the road because you can't go anywhere for donkeys. I love it so much. Anywhere you go, you will have to stop because of sheep or donkeys or pigs or horses or cows or something. But like the donkeys, they just don't move out of the way. The others move, but they don't.
They're just like, this is my house. You
Yeah.
get that.
Jesus, right. Josh is getting a bit explosive.
Let's get some flaming tips. Nice. It reminds me of back in the day. Used to watch those like videos like was it FPS Russia?
Oh, right.
Like incendiary rounds.
I thought you were talking about the Anarchist Cookbook and everything we made from it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, or failed to a lot of the time.
Oh, we made quite a lot.
We did make a lot of stuff.
I mean, we set fire to a lot of things.
Yeah. I think me and Josh spent like literally hours. Was it with me and Josh or was it you that we spent hours and hours and hours breaking off match heads to fit into a tennis ball to try and make a bomb? And
I don't know. I mean, we did do that. Didn't we do it with was it tennis balls? Maybe, I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, yeah. There was a few things. There was like a smoke bomb that you can make out of ping pong balls.
Yeah, that was great. We made
foil.
lots of them.
That was really good. That was like surprisingly effective, isn't it?
Yeah. I wouldn't breathe it in as an adult. That would kill me.
Yeah, maybe not so good.
Young lungs though, we were all right.
It was fine. It's a little dabble, do you?
Yeah. We'll see how we are in another 20 years.
Yeah. So one thing that I think is really great in Udemy, which is in this frame, is we spend so much time like for aligning stuff. You'd like sort of if you want to line things off things, you could type in certain bits of code to do it. So like say on this like transform, you could be like B-box, like not B-box, B-box like that, and then like you could say based off of like the size of the bounding box of this, like shift it this much. So like no matter how big it is, it will like always kind of center itself. That sort of jazz. And it's been ages like writing this out into like transforms. I found out there's just the node that will just do that for you. It's called match size. It's really nice. You can just like align things like center bins. It's really good for like putting things on the floor.
Yeah, that's always a problem. If I use like there's a drum builder, like a browser one, and it's really hard to just get things to go on the floor nicely because they're always like hovering a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's surprisingly one of the most like annoying things with CG. You'd think that it would just be like automatic or something, but it's not.
Just snapping, that's what you need.
Yeah, I mean, it's good snapping. It's definitely good snapping. You can snap to lots of different things, like vertices, which are like the points of like an object. You can snap to the grid, snap to curves, and size of the one like this mountain, this lake, all pretty big.
Mm. Those things you downloaded, are they textured as well?
I think they came with textures, yeah. I don't know if they work though, because I think I was looking at it, it's like I don't think this makes sense, but it's fine. I mean, you'd be surprised actually with trees. A lot of the time, you don't even really need that much texture because you're seeing a lot of it from distance. As long as you have like color and lots of like variation in the color, you can kind of like programmatically kind of like give that variation.
If you've got green and brown, it's a tree.
Exactly. So I've got that now. Now what I'm going to do, so I've got a big old grid. I'm going to give that grid lots of subdivisions. So I can put down a lovely name note, mountain. Yeah, okay. Maybe actually.
What have you done this week? You got slightly too drunk last night, but you're not hungover today.
Yeah, I'm pretty proud of myself for that. Just karaoke.
Just so you know, that would kill me. In fact, if I did karaoke, I wouldn't leave the house for a month.
It is it's a lot. But you know what?
Did you
I
sing?
really enjoyed that. Yeah.
No,
It was my idea to do. I wanted to sing. I can't remember. I wanted to sing some Coheed and Cambria because I've been singing along to that a lot. It's very fun.
There's no way your voice is that high.
No, it would be terrible, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, fair enough. I suppose if it's really, really terrible, but you are enjoying it, then it's less cringy than if you're really trying and it's quite bad.
Yeah. No, it's what did I say? Honestly, I have no idea.
That's that homebrew that you've made.
Yeah. That worked out quite well actually.
The brain rot. Have you named it? You should name it.
That's an idea, isn't it? What would you say it should be called? This is quite a trippy effect.
Oh, that's cool.
So I've got this mountain now done, which is going to apply a noise to the geometry.
Oh, wow.
And then...
So that's just noise?
Yeah. So it's like a fractal noise, and you think of like noise as in like a value of 0 to 1.
Yeah.
Black and white. And then like the areas where it's 1 is pushing upwards, and where it's black, it's not doing anything. And then, yeah, scaling that out.
That's really cool.
It's quite fun, isn't it? It's like a little mountain range.
I'm a bit jealous, obviously.
You can do this. You can download Houdini for free. This is the non-commercial version.
Is it?
Yeah.
So you're not allowed to at home.
Yeah, you can't make anything you make money out of. Not like that.
What machine are you on at the moment? Just your home machine, or are you on the virtual one?
Yeah, on my home machine. Yeah, I don't know. You just never do that stuff. I don't want to accidentally leak something or do whatever, you know.
That's a good question. So, what are you working on at the moment, and can you say?
No, I can't.
Well, that was a fitting answer.
But it is a TV show. It's a TV show. It's an episodic TV show with lots of magic.
Oh, that's too much. You can't. You've said too much.
Cool. We've never a TV show with magic. What? Yeah, no, it's going to be really cool.
You've not shown me any shots from that, have you?
No. Can't show anything.
Is it too secret?
It's all in. Yeah. I mean, you're all doing everything we do, so you can't show anything from work until it's out on TV. When it's out on TV, it's kind of it's anyone's game.
To people that like, say if you've got a modeler or something that works for your company, do they get to use the work that they've done through the company on their show reel or anything?
Yes, typically. There is some cases where you can't, which is a real shame.
Is that down to the client?
Yeah. So like some clients like Disney, that can be like quite funny about their IP. So you kind of like have a bit stuck. Which is a real shame because like some of those shows can be like really big. You could like end up working on something for like 3 years and then not have anything to show for it. Because I don't agree with.
I mean, you could always just write that you did it. You just wouldn't be able to show what you did, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean the thing is as well, like if you're in a big company, like frame store. Like you don't really have to worry so much. Like, if you've worked in a big company and you've been doing it for a long time and worked lots of shows, you've got to get one.
Yeah, right.
You're going to be able to go to the other big post houses or what have you.
Yeah, that's good. So yeah, should we talk about how you got to where you are?
Oh yeah. So it's a big struggle. It's a long, basically, struggle to work my way up. Yeah, like it's a tough time of getting into the VFX industry. But yeah, I
It's sort of
basically I started as a runner.
I feel like it depends, right? Because
Hmm.
it's really hard, but it's almost guaranteed, it seems.
No, not at
No?
all. No. There's lots of people that like they try and they fail to get it, which is really sad. But that happens.
So it's not
like
just...
out of my course of like at uni, like I think only like 10% of people really got work in the industry.
But are they not just the people that gave up because it was really fucking hard?
Yeah,
That's what I
basically.
mean. If you
The
can
key
stick
is,
it out,
yeah, like exactly. Like I mean that is the key. Really, is like the persistence is key. Like how you kind of like work it out is and that's how I stuck it out really. Like I came out of uni, I had no money because I was really dumb and spent all of my money, and I had like about 300 quid left. Like, and that's not like just 300 quid plus like an overdraft. It was like in my overdraft. I was like,
yeah.
that's all I had left, and I was applying for jobs for ages, and then I finally got this one. Got a job in this smaller company called Envy, and
Wasn't that where you did your placement as well?
yeah. So this is kind of my placement. Yeah, so I did a 4-year course. The third year was like you got to go get a job in industry, and
Right.
and getting that job in the industry was it was like really tough. I was at home just trying to apply to get things, and eventually I got an interview, and I applied everywhere. I applied to all the big places, didn't get anything. Applied to Envy and got an interview, and I went up with my mum, did the interview, and it worked out, which was great. And they're like, right, cool, you start on Monday. And I went, oh shit,
I
what do I
don't
do
live
now? I don't live in London, so I very quickly had to get my shit together, basically, and yeah, it was exciting. I with that money, I went to a hostel. I remember Generator. I remember my first night going to London, getting off at Charing Cross and walking up to Generator. I think phones weren't that great then. I don't think I really had Google Maps, or maybe I had Google Maps but not enough data, or I don't
Yeah,
know.
Google Maps, no. I mean, you had your Google phone at that point, didn't you?
Yeah, I had my Google
Yeah.
phone, and like I think I found my way from like instructions I think I've written down, and also following all the maps around London, like on the street that have like maps, and
Yeah.
followed that to the hostel. And yeah, I mean, basically, long story short, I spent like months in hostels. I lived in loads of different hostels around London. There's this one that's now closed, which is so sad. Palmer's Lodge in Swiss Cottage was hands down the best one. It was so gorgeous. All these like sort of like beautiful like wood kind of like floors, the staircases that look like an old stately home kind of thing with carpets, and I mean, you were sleeping in a dorm of like, initially I was staying with like 27 different people, which was massive. But then I started going into the 18 dorm one, which was nicer because you had a little curtain on your bunk, so you could have a bit of privacy. And those plugs, so I just like I downloaded loads of anime from home, and then like just get into my bunk, close the curtain, plug it in, watch my anime, go to sleep. And it was it was a very very humble life. I lived off of the toast at work because I had no money. Yeah. So
you did it all on your own, and you're it's not like you were this kind of person that was like that before. You really just wanted to do it and made yourself do it, and it's very cool.
Thanks, man.
Oh, you know how proud of you I am.
Yeah. Thanks.
You already know that.
So it's it's not everyone could do it, you know. It's a long slog, and like, you know, people have different situations where like they just can't mentally cope doing that. I mean, I was really struggling at times, like being kind of depressed, and yeah, it was hard, but you know, eventually got a place to live, with a load of Italians that didn't speak English.
Yep.
In Leighton, which was a bit mental. And then yeah, and then I eventually moved out there. I moved into a place, a guardianship with my mate Sarah. She was like working in the library, and I think I was just about getting into the library at work. And yeah, and that was kind of cool, because then actually had someone like I knew.
Uni.
No, from this is at work.
Oh, right.
So
who was your friends from uni? I thought someone.
Oh, Tasha. Yeah, no, yeah, I'm skipping around literally. So I did my placement year. I lived in just god awful places. I lived in that Leighton place, and then did my year, went back to uni, finished my year in uni, and then I came back. And when I went back up to London, that second time I went with Tasha, that I lived with, was a uni mate. And yeah, that was better. It was definitely better. Still a bit depressing. It was just like, we're also just still very poor. We couldn't do anything.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, how much were you on as a runner?
When I first got to London, first time, it was 12.5k, which is a criminally small amount to live off of.
In London, that's like 50p.
Yes. I mean, yeah, I basically had enough money to, well, do nothing. I had enough money to cover the rent, just about eat. And I remember, like, when I went up the second time, I remember I summed up that like I could have like a McDonald's and maybe watch a movie, and that was all my spare money. On the second time.
Well, I mean, you
first time I didn't have that.
You were losing money every month, weren't you? For the first few years.
For a while, I mean, I was barely getting by. It was no bueno, but it worked out. You know, I got a job in the library.
Yeah. So talk about first. Josh said, "Can't you just say that you worked for them?" And yeah, this is about the Disney thing.
Oh yeah. Like
you can definitely say that you worked for them.
Yeah, you can say that. Like, I work for this, and a lot of the time, like, you'll interview and you'll talk about like bigger post-house processes and stuff, and it'll be very evident that you know what you're talking about or not. I've had to interview a lot of people recently for positions at Framestore, and yeah, it's quite interesting. Sort of like the people that like will kind of big themselves up on their profile and say like, oh, I know this, I know that, and then you talk to them, and it's very clear whether they know or not about something when you actually like dig into it. So it's it comes across if you know what's up, then you know. It's
so is this just like processes of working?
Yeah, exactly. So like if I don't know, if they're like a modeler, or if they're like a look dev artist, or like
like workflow.
Yeah, workflows, working with Shotgun, things like that. Like Shotgun's like a management software used for like sort of managing all the asset tracking and task stuff, all sort of jazz.
So yeah. What's the? I'm trying to think of the word. What's the progression? What do you have to do to get to where you are?
So it's changed a lot, which is a bit tricky. So I mean, basically, yeah, like when I got in, the way you got in is be a runner.
Yep.
And you know that's kind of fine until recently, where like running positions don't really exist that much anymore. A lot of like companies they don't have them as positions, or like they're very like far and few between, and a lot of the time they're actually just employing like cleaners and things like that instead. So you know, it was good for me because like I wasn't like the best CGI like out of the gate, but it meant like you get a foot in the door. And now it's you can't really do that.
Do you have to go straight to library?
Libraries barely exist because tapes don't really exist. So when I started, like, you know, that was a whole workflow of like getting into the library because there was still everything was still on tape. So like you'd send like tapes all around Soho and things would be mastered on tape.
Well, that's what the runners did, right?
Yeah, you'd run the tapes and the tape decks from place to place.
Yeah. Yeah.
was,
Why not? Why not say what each one does as well? What does a runner do? Everything the runner does.
Yeah, like make tea and coffee, look after the clients. Yeah, running tapes and stuff like around. That was it basically. You're kind of a glorified servant, essentially. You know, and sometimes
But
for
it is a job
clients,
in the
sometimes
industry that you could go up from.
exactly. You know, and that was the thing is you just need to get your foot in the door, and that's hard enough as it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, that doesn't really exist so much anymore. So you kind of got to get straight into the industry as the artist that you want to be. A lot of times there is some like internship stuff that you can do, especially like Framestore has like a lot of really great programs for getting people in.
That's awesome.
So, which is like, you know, it's becoming more needed, really.
Yeah, I feel like there's not that much of that in the UK as much as there is America. I mean, maybe it's just where we come from, but there's not that many like entry level things where you get taught. We just have apprenticeships, and they're either not paid or paid terribly.
Yeah, no, exactly. So it's quite refreshing. I think Framestore in general do a really great job of trying to get people in.
That's good.
They're very people focused.
So yeah, you went runner. You went runner to
library. Yeah, so library, like instead of having to run all the tapes, you're dispatching the tapes instead.
Do you have to put stuff from one tape to another or anything, or like just categorize them?
Yeah, categorize them, log them. So like, you know, the machine rooms would be actually doing all the stuff with the tapes, and then like you'd just be moving them from one place to the other and logging them so you can find them. The big process of post-production in the bigger scheme of things, especially if you're doing offline kind of stuff where you basically you shoot like hours and hours and hours of footage, you know, and you can't practically, or at least you couldn't before, practically put like, you know, all that footage onto a drive and edit from that footage because it's just too much. So what you'd do instead is you'd ingest the rushes from the shoot at a proxy scale. So 15:1 would be the typical for offline, or 10:1 for short form. So it'd be 15th of the scale. It's a lot smaller size. It's a lot more manageable. So you bring all of that onto the offline, just like when people edit, they'll make their edits with those smaller proxy versions, and then when the edit is locked, so you call it a lock, then we would get a notification to the library say, okay, this edit's locked. We need to now source the tapes that those clips came from. So the clips all on the timeline, they'll have like codes that refer back to the tapes they originated from. So we would then go get all the tapes that we had before, gather just the ones that you need, and then the machine room would then online the offline. So the offline would become online by ingesting just those sections of the tape for the edit at a high definition, so just the full res of that. And that's a whole big process, just like managing those tapes and getting that to machine room so they can do that process. Which is less needed these days in a way because everything's digital. Like, you know, you could have drives and you have like data services, which are just kind of like the drive-based equivalent of library. But yeah, like people just send the footage, and then a lot of like clients, they just sort out their own listing. So I'm less involved with that kind of stuff these days, and there's a less of a need for it. So again, it's like another job that doesn't really exist so much anymore.
Someone's still got to manage the drives, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. So that still exists. yeah. So that still has to happen. So you kind of like in where you are. But yeah, I came out of library and I became an artist sheer force. It's just I just really wanted it, and so I was just trying to do 3D in my spare time. I'd just go into the 3D room when I was like a runner, and I was just like trying to sort of get in there, and I'd just be trying to work on my own stuff, and it didn't really work out for a lot of it until like a really great bit of advice that I got from someone was like, well, have you asked to be an artist? I was like, no. It's like, because for some reason I just had it in my mind that like, you'd just work, and you just work away and just try and be there, and just being there would be enough. But actually people are too busy to acknowledge what you're doing, so you need to just go up to someone and ask. And that's how I got into the library. Someone said you should ask Sam, who was the boss at the time. I said, Sam, I'm interested in being at the library. I went, all right. And then about 2 weeks later, I was in the library, so, which was like mental. And then the same kind of like with 3D, I was just working away on my own stuff. And then like, Filippo, it's Italian dude that I used to work with. He said like, you should go just talk to Jonathan Davis. He's a producer at the time.
Of Corn.
Yeah, I know, it's the same name. But he is so different to the singer of God. Very vulgar but funny producer. He's quite well known. I think he's the head of Flat MPC commercials. And I just went up to him. I was like, sorry, John, have you got a sec? He's like, yeah. What's the problem?
Please, sir, can I have a job?
Basically, I was like, I want to get into 3D. I went, oh, all right. And he turned over to his other producer that he worked on the short for. Went, Luke, Caspian wants to do a bit of 3D. I went, oh, all right. And then he just like walked me back up to the room that I just walked down from. I went, oi, give him something to do. that was it really. I started tracking. I did some 3D tracking.
Yeah.
And then
that was for adverts and stuff right back then, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I think
was there a music video? A couple of music videos?
Yeah, I did a load of music videos. We did like One Direction a lot because they were like a big client of ours.
And the Bexhill band, was it Keen?
No, I don't think I did them.
Oh, I thought you did for some reason.
No. This is mostly them. There was like some other like random ones here and there. But yeah, I think the first thing I tracked for was like, what was it? I don't remember now. I can't remember the exact first thing, but the thing that after that was basically I did well doing that first little bit of tracking on some random shot, and then they gave me a bit more substantial work and said, oi, we're going to pull Caspian out of the library for a few weeks because we need to do this tracking for this roller coaster advert.
Yeah.
That's the beginning of that kind of thing. So I was like, brilliant. And it was mental because Jonathan Davis, he always had this way of like saying, like, I'm going to do you a favor, but it will come at a cost. It was like a monkey paw kind of like thing. So like it was very tough. It was very long hours, and it was like, I will break you, but I will break you to make you, essentially.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was fucking mental because there was these roller coaster shots where you're on rails looking at the ground, so you can track all the ground, so you can figure out the position of the camera. And there's points which just goes up into the sky, so all you have is clouds, and you can't track clouds because they move. So that's no good. So I had to by hand animate the camera keyframe by keyframe until it matched, like on those like areas, and it was really, really tough. And then like Eric made a load of like 3D stuff. This guy that I work with now, very good friends with, working together since forever. We both started as runners at Envy, and now we're both at Frame Store. And
you were still getting paid library money for when you were doing this for a while, weren't you?
Oh yeah, for a long time. I got paid nothing. It's like but yeah, Eric was doing all the 3D stuff for this like commercial, and then he had to like be off for some reason for like 2 weeks, and then like so then Jonathan was like, all right, Caspian, you're in, you got to like now do the 3D. I was like, oh shit. So it was my opportunity to go even beyond that, and it worked out really well, you know. So just I kept doing that for a while. And Sam, my boss in the library, was really great. He was really accommodating. That like normally we'd move between building to building every week on like a rota, but eventually he just let me be in like the place where like the 3D department was, so I could just keep sneaking off to do 3D basically. And I'd just like I'd do all my job, I'd do like the logging of the tapes, do my, you know, what I need to do, and then in between that, I take the phone with me on the cordless phone, take it into the 3D room, and then get on the stuff. But it did get to a point where basically I had clients that I was working with, and I had to pretend that I was not in the library. You know, it was like I'd be getting calls for like logging tapes and stuff like that. I was like, oh, you got to go, like there's a lock or something, you've got to go do like a source list. So I was like, oh shit, but I'm like sitting with the client. Like at one point I was like sitting with the Channel 4 director and was like live animating this idea of these like you know, like the cup game where it all revolves around,
yeah,
everything. And I was doing that, and you know, and to get that animation is a bit tricky. So we was sitting together, like coming up with these ideas and juggling it around, and then yeah, that was kind of the breaking point where they were like, we should probably give him a job in it because he's working with clients, so it's a bit awkward.
Yeah.
So I did eventually get the job, which was great, and yeah, I loved that. I loved working in that little studio, but it was just like it was me and Eric as 3D, and then eventually had Matt and Andy as the 2D guys, and we were just this little studio, and we're taking on the world, you know. We're just really small, not, you know, we're not like a big group of people that could like, you know, necessarily do a whole lot, but we were trying to punch above our weight. One of the big points for me and Eric especially, which kind of really got a lot of heads turning in the industry, for us at least, was this Mitsubishi advert that we did. So we did this Mitsubishi adverts for Channel 4. They still do them, I think. These like illusions, changing perceptions is the advertising campaign. There'd always be like kind of an optical illusion kind of thing. And we did these two where we there was one that was kind of like the director wants to make it like it was real. So like it was kind of like as if you staged like a studio set to do this kind of thing. So we had this like one that looked like a car going up a mountain, but when the camera came back, you'd see that actually the camera's just at an angle, and there's just like little rocks staged, like, you know, here and there. You know, and then there was this other.
That.
It was quite cool, like that one. There was another one that was it looked like a reflection of like a car on like water, and the camera's upside down, and then it turns upside down and pulls back, and then you realize that not only the top was the bottom and the bottom was the top, but it was also like a perspective painting. So like the perspective like is like one of those, yeah, you know, like it looks like someone's going to jump into something or whatever, like jump into like a hole in the street and it's drawn over like chalk or something. Same kind of thing, but it's like the car. It's like projected out, so it looks all stretched out on the floor when you look at it from the wrong angle, but from the right angle, it looks like it's on top of each other. But what was really scary about that was me and Eric had to do the tech fizz for this shoot, and at the time they said, "Okay, you got to do tech fizz." We were like, "What the fuck is tech fizz?"
Yeah,
we didn't. So we knew what Previs was. Oh, do you want to Previs it? Previs is like when you sort of like block out like in 3D like what you're going to do before you actually do the shoot, so that you can see if things are going to work. It's kind of like the next step on from a storyboard. You get like storyboard something, and then Previs, you kind of roughly get your cameras, so you can figure out, do you need like a wide angle lens, a short angle lens, or what positions are kind of going to work? Like, will you actually be able to film this? You know, we downloaded this.
Is it physically possible?
Well, exactly, especially with something like that, where it's like optical illusions. And we downloaded this rig that was like an approximation of this like motion control rig that would be used on the day, so we could figure out the actual like position where the camera should be and all sorts of jazz. And we were terrified because the tech viz is another step where it's like you're working out like how to shoot something, like more specifically, not just like roughly what the frame should look like and that would kind of work. It's like, no, the camera needs to be this many centimeters off the ground and this far away from blah blah blah. And we were really scared because we're like, are we going to export this camera data and we're going to have this like massive like multi-thousand-pound equipment, like Alexa camera with like a massive lens, like basically on the floor, and it's just gonna.
Oh.
Hey, I think I lost you.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What happened there?
Not sure.
Oh, I think I was just rambling on to myself.
Yeah. Let me know what you were saying.
What was I saying?
We're not.
I
We're not.
was,
It's not all back yet. We've got to somehow make this work.
oh no.
I'm just gonna go to my
Yeah.
face for a minute, and then I'll get it back working again.
Yeah, no, I'm good, all good. Yeah, no, I was talking about me and Eric doing the Mitsubishi
Yes.
job,
Yeah.
and it worked out really well for us. And then with his producers, Jane and Abby, who came from Frames originally, came to Envy to try and do something with the short form, and they inevitably got frustrated and left because it's so hard to get short form to be a thing at Envy properly. It was never really fully invested in the way that we wanted it to be anyway. We wanted to be a bigger kind of short form thing. But yeah, Eric left, got a job at Frame Store because Abby was there, and then 6 months later, I got a job there, and the rest is history. So I started off doing 3D modeling stuff, and eventually got into lighting, which is where I wanted to be. I love lighting; was always my jam. When me and Eric used to work together, he'd always do the modeling and texturing, and I'd do the lighting and comping side of stuff.
Yeah, I remember you used to. I mean, you always really worked on that stuff before. Do you remember the robot, when you're going through all the things where you make the things and then you texture them, then you light them?
Yeah,
I think that might have been when you were at uni.
Yeah, and I think I spent all my time, probably too much time doing that instead of the rest of the work, but just because that's what I enjoyed. Yeah, I was like, this bit's really cool.
Yeah.
And it was good because for a long time I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was always a generalist, and I was always told, "Oh, you can't be a generalist. You need to specialize. You'll never get anywhere in the street being a generalist." And it's really funny because these days, actually, very useful being a generalist, especially to get a job. People, there's less jobs out there, and the more hats you can wear, the better. But I mean, if you can do them well enough to really do them.
Josh said, "Oh no, he snapped," and yeah, we snapped for a moment. I think I was still streaming. Usually OBS is the one that crashes, so it stopped streaming. But I think Illustrator crashed, which crashed you as well for some reason.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're
back. Thing.
Sometimes everything breaks. Actually, at the moment it's once per stream. It's been once per stream for a while.
I don't think the stream stopped.
No, it didn't. But usually it does. But yeah. What was I going to say? So you did specialize in the end, did you? Because I thought you
sort of, yeah. I mean,
generalist. That was still your title, right? Generalist.
Yeah. So I became a CG generalist, but I more focused on lighting for a long time. But then I still did everything. So like, you know, and it was really useful for some projects where I could like come on and model something, then take it through to texture look dev, and then also carry on, like after all the assets are done, carry on with shot work and then light it and layout and do whatever you need really. So you don't need to change artist, which is really can be really handy for scheduling, because it means like you just, you know, keep the artist on, they're more familiar with the job, and then keep doing stuff, which is great. But yeah, I always like doing lighting stuff more. But I mean, you know, it's kind of forced.
It makes sense to be a generalist, but also specialize in one. It would be stupid if you could only do one and none of the others.
Exactly right, and there is a lot of people that do that, and it works. It works in different parts of the industry. Like if you work in film, they have people that highly specialize, but don't really do much else. And I always found it really bewildering. There was like some people like I don't meet that like would just texture. That's all they did, and they don't know anything. They knew nothing of the before in the pipeline and nothing of the after of the pipeline, which I think is really.
It seems impossible.
Yeah, I mean it's bad because you don't know why you're doing the things that you do.
Yeah,
you know, there's you need to have that knowledge of like, oh, I need to texture something a certain way so that it will be used in looked at a certain way. You know, or like later down the line, if you're modeling something, oh, this is going to be used for effects, so it needs to be, I don't know, done in a way that is good for effects or CFX or whatever.
Yeah,
so
I feel like you need to have the next stage in mind when you're doing something.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and it's crazy not to have that. But I mean, in film, things are so much more compartmentalized. So it becomes possible then because because you can just slot into one thing and it's a bit more like a bigger machine going. Whereas in IA, the department I'm in, we're a lot more nimble. You need to move at a faster pace. You need people that can do more. So that's where like being a generalist is really good. There's smaller kind of like stages because you could just like what I did before, just jump from assets to shot work, all sorts.
So if someone wanted to become a generalist or a specialist at this point in time, because I mean it wasn't that long ago that you did this, you know, you've only really just started. It's only been the last 5 years where you've really been in the place you want to be.
Yeah.
So like it's not that long ago that you did this process, but what would you recommend to people do now? Would you recommend an internship?
An internship is a really good way of getting in because it's a low risk for both parties. You know, it's sort of like you don't have the pressure of being perfect out of the gate to get in on this job, and you get all the support that and learn in a real work environment. So if you can get into an internship or one of those projects like that, bloody brilliant. You know, if not, just do what you want to do. Just like, you know, if you want to be a modeler, model some stuff. Like if you want to do lighting, but you don't know how to model, like, you know, you can download really nice detailed objects and use those to practice your lighting. You know, there's lots of really great resources online for learning, like all the different softwares. Like it's almost infinite.
And there's loads of really good assets. There's so many good things now.
Yeah, it's really great. I mean, like mega scans, like being one of them. I mean, one of the things that's very appealing about Unreal is that you have mega scans built into it. You can drag and drop high detailed models into your scene and just start working with them live and lighting with them, which is really great. So yeah, I mean, today, if you want to get into it, start doing it, build up a show reel and apply.
Do you think a show reel is necessary to get an internship?
Yes. Yeah, no, definitely, because you need to show potential. You know, and there's a lot of people that are going to apply for these jobs. So
yeah,
how do you stand out from everyone else, basically?
How do the internships pay? Do you know?
I don't know, to be honest. I imagine it's like not a high wage, but but it's not like
I bet it's more than the 12 grand you were on as a runner.
I can guarantee it. It's more than 12 grand. I mean, even just from the fact that minimum wage has gone way up since then.
Imagine if you did it 5 years later and you could just walk into an internship right now instead of the 10 years of struggle.
That would have been nice. But do you know what? I think I wouldn't change a thing for my journey, just because I think one thing that was good about running and library and working in like sort of like offline places and small studios, this whole journey has given me a lot of experience, like in lots of different things and different fields. I'm more aware of like stuff like up and down the pipeline because of that. Like I had more time basically. Whereas like if you are going more straight into it now, like you will be these days, I think it'd be harder to be a generalist because you need so much more time to get to grips with all these different processes.
It's also quite cool that you have done jobs that don't really exist now. I think that's quite cool.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, isn't it? Like it's interesting. Like I talk about these kind of like things with people that did these similar jobs and had the same sort of journeys, and we all kind of like talk about how weird that is. Now that's like changed. You know?
I feel like being in the library would be great. I think I'd really enjoy that. Shame it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, no, it was pretty chill. Like, you know, it was nice. I mean, it not always chill. Sometimes it was
obviously
sometimes it was late nights and things like that. But like, no, it was pretty cool. And we had like a really great boss. Like Sam was always very protective of us, and you know would really fight for us, which is great. Like I remember, in fact, when I initially got that job in the library, it was supposed to be temporary. I was covering to fix something called the ISIS crisis, or help out, where basically there was this the ISIS. I know it sounds really mental. ISIS crisis. It sounds like a terrorist. It was like a terrorist attack or something. It's like, oh, we need soldiers. But actually, what it was is it's more all that, you know, what I'm saying about people ingesting that footage.
Yeah.
So if all that stuff is stored on a server, and that server was called the ISIS. That's where, you know, named after the Egyptian god. not any relation to. Hey, that server was around before ISIS existed.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, basically they had a catastrophic failure that they'd never seen before. It was down to the hardware, and you know, it's not like it was anyone could be really at fault. Like it wasn't anyone's fault that they lost all this data, and luckily, like, you know, a lot of this stuff is still already on tape. This is one thing that's good about tape still, you know, is like it's a lot safer than drives, because drives can fail. And, you know, people go, oh yeah, but what about RAID and like, you know, all these like backups and stuff. Like, well, that whole system was RAID. It was mirrored, but in fact, I think it was RAID 5. So it's like it's partially mirrored on different sections spread out across like hundreds of drives.
And it's still all lost.
Yeah, because it spread like a virus. It was so mad. Things started like disappearing from the server, and like they went, oh shit, what's happening there? So they were like faulty drives or something. And you replace the drives, and it still kept spreading and removing things. So it was this really unprecedented kind of like thing to happen.
Yeah.
So they basically got everyone on board that had fingers. If you had the power to use your hands, you were ingesting tapes and helping with this process of getting everything back online.
How many did you eat then?
Oh, it's delicious. At least 10.
Yeah.
No, so like one thing that was really nice about it is that it really brought everyone together in a weird way, because like I think crises are a really great bonding experience in a way. You know, suddenly some producers and people in different hierarchies that were not necessarily so nice to you as a runner or someone like lower down were suddenly very needed, and you're working late nights and everyone's working late nights and everyone needed to work together to fix this.
Yeah,
and,
it's like when I was doing the newspaper,
Mm.
you know, we published every 2 weeks, but realistically, I had about 2 days to do the entirety of the paper because people would get stuff in last minute.
Oh yeah, yeah, I remember you
So
saying about this.
pretty much I'd just work for 2 days every 2 weeks, but it would
Yeah.
be solid. It would be like hell. but but like the first one we did, me and somebody else did it. It wasn't just me on my own.
Mm.
So the first ever issue, it was me and a guy called Sam, and we just like we were so like past stress that we just got on with it, and it was
Yeah,
really nice.
there is something about that, isn't there? This sort of like this calm that comes when you're in the thick of something like that. You go like, well, there's no point stressing about it because that's
Yeah,
not going to help you. You
yeah.
just need to do it, and yeah, that's great. I
And
mean, if you can get in an
once I'd
environment,
done
where
it
you do that.
once, I had all of the elements that could be reused. I had an idea of what I needed, where to place things, how to place things, how to fill space, and how to use the space I had. And
Mm,
every single issue just got easier.
nice. Yeah, like you build up a bit of a workload and stuff, right?
Yeah,
You just sort of like go, right, cool, we know what we're doing now. It still sounded really tough. I remember you saying about like just
yeah.
yeah, just working on these crazy nights, waiting for the upload because it was all on like an FTP or something, wasn't it? Which is
Oh
like
yeah, the FTP
really
was
slow.
slow.
But
That's the first and last time I've ever used one. So yeah, you are no longer a generalist. You are a supervisor.
I am, yeah, which came to a surprise to me.
Well,
I
mate,
am.
honestly, you were just talking about how you like your bosses were really good. I couldn't think of a better boss than you.
Oh, thank you, man.
I wouldn't. You're the best. You could. It couldn't be a better boss.
Oh, I appreciate it. I don't think I'm a very good boss, and I stress about it a lot. But apparently, that's what makes me a better boss. Is that I
Right.
give a shit and I stress
Yeah.
about it. If you're worrying about these things and thinking about these things, then hopefully at least you're aware of that. And you're trying to be better.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Well, you're
I've worked on this.
still learning how to do that. Like,
Oh yeah, very much
there's
so
no
every
reason
day.
you should just know that.
It's yeah, and it's quite weird because like you train all your career to like learn how to do all the tech stuff and all the art stuff, and
Mm,
then suddenly you have to manage people,
yeah.
and you go, wait a minute, I don't know how to do this. I never trained to do this. Um,
I just
so
don't
it's a
know.
very different skill.
I just don't know like a more fair and like kind person than you. I feel like you wouldn't ever. I mean, there's no way you'd be horrible to someone, you know.
Hmm. That's, I'll try. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. I just want people to have a good time. I want people to. I've been through so many like awful situations, and like I think there's one thing that's really nice, and like there's a load of us at Framestore that had like been there for quite a few years now, and
Mm,
we've all come up together. Like one of my mates, he is now head of CG in IA,
mm,
and we've been through it, and we've been through these really mental situations where we have worked just bonkers hours just trying to get things done, and it's a killer. It's really it's not great, and and I think that was down to like how things could be like managed before, and it was just almost like expected. It's like, oh
mm.
well, that's just the way it is and always has been, so that's just the way it will continue to be.
Well,
um
you are trying to change things. You've come up with lots of different processes and things to help with that, and you are continuing to do so.
exactly, that's what I want. Like I want to make things better for people. I want to make things easier for people to do. Like, if, like, you know, some of this stuff I was saying about like learning Python is so good because it allows you to automate and create tools for monotonous jobs that needn't exist. You know, so like if you can get it so people could just do more of the creative stuff, brilliant. You know, that's what you want. Have I had to fire anyone yet? Oh God, I have.
Yeah, you told me about this last time we spoke, or the time before.
It was awful. It was really, really awful. It just feels so bad. But yeah, my first job as a supervisor. So basically, I got put on to do this this show for Disney on their cruise ships, and we did it in the film pipeline, and it was really tough because it was like, hey, you're going to be doing this this role that you've never done before as a supervisor, and you're going to do it in an unfamiliar environment where you don't know any of the tools or anything. I went, are you joking? So it was like, you know, it's like having your hands tied behind your back and then like kicked off of a plane, and you got to like, you know, figure it out. And
into the ocean, and you can't swim.
Yeah. We've also tied leads to your feet. Yeah, it was rough, but like, you know, so we had to kind of like figure things out, and yeah, we had to hire some people, and I learned a lot about hiring people, and like there's people that seem like they know what they're doing, and there's people that seem like they know what they're doing, but they don't, and it's trying to figure that out from the get-go, because it's a bad situation. Them, yeah, because once they're there, like, you know, it's stuff, and like, you know, lovely people, but like if you can't do the triple, then we're pretty struggling as it needs.
Sorry, you're going all crackly. Just start that sentence again.
Oh yeah, no. So it's, you know, as nice as people can be, it's like you need people that you can just get going and just get on with it, kind of thing. And yeah, we had some people that like they couldn't do the specific bit of the job that we needed them to do. And what was a shame is that like if we'd known that like weeks before, we could have like trained them up and go like, okay, well, you've never done this before, so then we can actually show you. But it didn't know that they couldn't do it, and was just really confused when I kept like briefing people to do things like, okay, we just need to do A, B, and C, blah blah, and like sort of help them out like with the technology side of stuff with like this software, because it's like proprietary stuff in Framestore in the film pipeline. In the film pipeline anyway.
Yeah, right.
But you know, we use more off the shelf kind of stuff than IA, and so like, you know, I'd work through and like sort of trying to go, okay, this is how this system works. This is how you apply materials. This is how you make your lights. Blah blah blah. And then I'd say, okay, cool, right, now match the shot lighting and do this, and then do a dailies. So, you know, matching shot lighting is, you know, you see like chrome and grey balls in like some behind the scenes stuff, like VFX. So like that, that's how you match lighting, basically. That grey or that grey ball is a very specific colour.
So I watched Nope the other week.
Oh,
Have you
yeah.
seen that?
Yeah, we watched it recently.
And there's the shot where they have the mirror ball in front of the horse.
Oh, yeah, I thought about that. So I was like, oh, that's funny. They got the big mirror ball.
Yeah, so I didn't know what that was. Now I do.
Yeah. So because they're doing like VFX on set, and it sets the horse off. But yeah, the grey ball lets you capture the actual illumination lighting of something. So on the actual ball, you have, you know, say your key light here and your bounce here, and you bring that in, and like, so you have a HDRI, which is like a lat long image-based lighting capture of like what you have, and you create the same grey ball in CG, and then you try and match the light to it. So like, you know, okay, cool, I brought my HDRI, maybe I separate the lights out from the image, so it's probably hard to visualize, but it's like a big stretched out like panorama. It's like a panorama, right? And that has lights in it. And like one thing you probably do a lot of times is you paint out the lights from the panorama, and then create lights in those positions where those lights were, and then put that. So you have then control over the different levels of those. And then, like, you know, if you have that, and then you also have the Macbeth chart, which is the color grid. You match the colors on there.
So do you match
So
it
white becomes white.
by hand and eye? You don't. There isn't a tool for that.
So the color balance part of it, there's tools for it. There's like a famous one that we use that's like available online called an color target, where it's like a Macbeth color target. Then you map a box over it which matches like those colors, and then the differences from those colors get normalized. So white becomes white, basically. Like, you know, it's the same as, like, you know, if you shoot on a cloudy day or on a sunny day and it comes up all blue or yellow or things like that, it accounts for all that, but even more. So like that part of it is you neutralize the IBL, is what we call it, and then once you've neutralized it, then you want to actually match the lighting in your CG to then really dial it in. You've got those lights, you can like you bring in that light and you go, okay, cool, well then you measure the value of the photo reference versus your one. So the gray ball, it's like 0.25 or 1.25, and then you go, well, mine's 0.75, so then bring up the difference of those to then match. You kind of like figure out the chrome ball helps you with figuring out the actual positions of the lights, whereas the gray ball helps you with the illumination, like how much power that light is affecting something. So when you're lighting and matching a shot plate lighting, you do it with the chrome ball and the grey ball first. It's a lot easier to light a ball. It's to light a character with hair and all sorts of other stuff, you know. But yeah, long story short, these guys couldn't do that, and I wish we had known that, because we could either hired people that already knew how to do that, or we would have just trained them how to do that. But we were so far into the project, we just needed other people. So I think we've just got other ladders to help out, and I think we had to let those guys go. It's a bit tough. It really sucks, and it's a learning experience, because it's on me as well for not knowing how to manage that and to get that information out of them. You know, you tell people a million times to say like, oh, let me know if anything's wrong or you need help with anything. But like there's different kind of personalities you learn, and there's a lot of people that won't ask for help when they need it. You need to, like, some people you need to know, and you need to know when to like jump on and help someone even if they've not asked for it, and just make sure that you guide people in the right direction. And that's one thing I've learned over the years, is just how to manage them, how different people are. On that same job, there was a guy who's an effects artist, and this is my first time like supervising. I don't know how a lot of other processes work that roles that I don't do. Sort of generalists, but don't do effects work, because effects work is very specialized. It would take too long to learn all of that. And we had like an effect, and I was just leaving it very open-ended briefing timeline-wise. I was like, look, I don't know how this works, so just this is what we need to do. Have a crack at it. Let me know how you get on. We'll check back in. And it was taking a really long time. This dude was really struggling to do it, especially because of the tools that we were using. It was tools that I'm familiar with. And but one day, like, he asked him to have a chat privately, and he just exploded. And he was just freaking out, like, oh, I don't know where I am, and I just feel like I'm all over the place, and blah blah. And it's because I didn't give him like timed, shortened, smaller parts. Like, it was too open-ended. Some people don't like that. I didn't want to put stress on people who was already in a stressful situation. So I was just like, okay, just do whatever. Just, this is the creative. Go ahead and do it, and then we'll check in and see how you're going on. But like, rather than working out that time ahead of time, how long do you think this will take? Maybe it'd be like 3 days or something. Okay, cool. Well, let's do that. 3 days. Small, timed, known quantities.
It's a good idea to ask as well. Ask them for a time frame for each part, because you don't know.
Yeah. Exactly. You don't want to assume, right? Like, I mean, when I do bidding, I have to do a lot of assuming of things, how long I roughly think things would take.
Yeah.
Which I have more of a knowledge of now through just experience of like doing similar things. But like, so these days I try and, like, with with people, especially if there's something that's kind of like difficult. I'll break it down into smaller chunks and say like, okay, we need to do this. Let's figure out how long that'll take, and then give the next bit of information or like the next thing, rather than sometimes like it's good to show that the big picture, like this is eventually what things will be, but like sometimes if you tell people like you need to do this entire environment and it's going to be this massive thing, it can be very overwhelming. So breaking that down into bite-sized tasks and briefing those in each other sometimes can be helpful with that. But yeah, it's
Well, it sounds
great.
like you are learning how to manage people.
Yeah, it's getting better. We did some training recently, actually, which was nice. I've been asking for training on this for a very long time.
Please help me. Please help me.
Like, what am I doing? And yeah, no, it was pretty useful in some ways. I wish we did more. A lot of it, we're getting to experience. I realize it's really hard to get like the experience for our industry because it's a little bit specific. But yeah, it's getting there.
Well, we should start wrapping it up. But do you wanna show off what you've done?
Yeah, do you know what? I think I got a bit distracted. I didn't do a whole lot.
That doesn't matter.
But so I started making a mountain and I realized I kind of like something I started screwing around with earlier. So I've gone back to this, but I've just got a mountain of water. It's not really a lot. I'd probably fire me if this is all the work I'd done. No, I wouldn't.
It's only in an hour and a half.
Yeah. No.
Whilst also telling 100 stories.
Yeah, I think I was distracted with that. But yeah, I made this. So we've got this. This is actually a more interesting terrain because I did it with a height field. So this height field is like a different kind of way of working with volumes. You can do like a noise that's more. It's made in like a volume, and then the geometry after the fact. So I think that kind of looks cooler. And then we got this this water here, which is just a grid. But then I took the grid and I don't know, freaking out a little bit. Took that grid and I took the there we go. I took the actual mountain. I took the box that I wanted to do, and I then converted my geometry into a VDB, which is a volume system that you can work with. I turned this into a VDB, and then I did a VDB combined to get the negative space, so like the cavity for the water to live in, rather than it being this big grid. You want like an actual solid object, so you can do refractions properly.
That's awesome.
Convert that to VDB. I did a connectivity and packed it, so that kind of takes the primitives. So instead of just all the points,
I could have done it faster in The Sims.
With the terrain tools. I've gathered all these little pieces because I go like, okay, I want to get rid of all this other stuff, but how do I do that? Because if you look closely, like this is made of loads of faces. How do you say what's what? So you can gather, you can connectivity and pack. So you create each of these things become like a group essentially, and then I can just blast everything that's not that one. To geometry, I UV flattened it for some reason. Can't remember why I did that. And then now that cavity lives on the top, so you actually have space that could be cleaned up. And then I started doing a scatter. I haven't quite finished, but you bring in the geometry that you want to put points onto. So this is where I want to put all the trees.
Yeah.
Right. So I've scattered, so it makes loads and loads of points. A point cloud, which is of everything. But they go, okay, well, I don't want any in the water, so bring in my water. I'll extend it out and make it a bit bigger, and then use that as a group to select all those points and then delete them. So you call that last little gob. And I went, okay, well then actually I want to not have anything under the water. So anything that is in the blast, you can put little expressions. So, and P equals, it means like point position, and P dot Y is the Y position if you're in 3 axes, X, Y, Z. Anything under 0, delete. And then anything over 22, delete, so that we don't have trees up on the top of the mountains above the vegetation line. And then what we start to do here is what I can't remember. I have to re-remember every time. Is how do you do a instance path for objects? I always get confused with this one. But you create a attribute on the points. So this is a wrangle, and this allows you to code little things that do stuff on points, prims been faces, points been the points. But these are just points. But we're going to turn these points into trees.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So S meaning string at instance path equals, and then I think it's something like this. Open forward slash the path of the thing that I want to instance. I'll find out if this is wrong. And what that will do is on all of these points, we'll go into the geometry spreadsheet. Remember, I was saying Houdini is a bit more like a data-driven way of thinking of things. This is every one of these points. Just like that one. You know, does it highlight it? Maybe it doesn't highlight it. Let's see. But yeah, this is like, you know, each point and their position. Yeah. Well, you can do little visualizers. It's a bit hard to do on the screen because it's too small.
Yeah.
You can actually see the point numbers, all the stuff. There you go.
Oh wow.
So,
dot to dot. Just do dot to dot.
Yeah, it's like a dot to dot. It's a really, you're going to be drawing that for a really long time. There you go. There's point 3. Point 3's over there. I like point 3. And he's that, you know, these are his coordinates in X, Y, and Z. That's the P, and the brackets being the second position of it. The color, the height, and then this is the actual that I've just put on it, instance path. So I'm going to see with how many slashes. I don't know. Let's find out. I'll bring that back. It's not going to do anything because I've done it wrong. So then I'll just spend ages really remembering how the hell you do that. Maybe it's those points.
So you just tell it to put trees at all those points. Can you like can you like have a selection of different types of trees and then have them randomly put across it?
Exactly. Yeah. So in fact, there's a really good thing you can do, which maybe I could just do instead of the wrangle in the first place. If I wanted to bring in a variation called what is it? It's been a while since I've done this. Attribute randomized. Yeah, attribute randomized. Which, off the bat, you see it makes it like little skills. Yeah. Makes it nice little colours. Because by default, it's going to do CD, which is colour. But what I want it to do is just be instance. I have to look this up because it's been a hot minute. We do instance path, and then instead of uniform continuous, there's one down the bottom here called custom discrete. Custom discrete allows you to change the type from a float to a string. So I can put the file path or like the object path of each of those different trees in here, and then you have a random distribution of those trees, but you can then give weighting to those. So you can say, want more of this one, less of that one, for example. So, see if I copy the path to it. I'd put the attribute run for this kind of scatter. It's confusing because, do you know, I think it is instance instead of instance path. So instance path, I think, is for files when you're doing a procedural. So typically when I like make trees and stuff like that, I would save, like do all the tree, do all the look down, everything like that, then save it to a file, an AS file and and you scatter this with that path. So you don't see anything in the viewport when you render it. It knows to take that geometry and place it in all its positions at render time, which is a lot more efficient.
Yeah. Is that like less process intensive and
essentially it's sort of like, I mean, and memory intensive, like, you know,
that's what I was gonna say, memory as well,
because when you instance things, I mean, you can instance the geometry directly, which is what I'm did I do? Oh no, I just can't get that one. And yeah, you could like instance things directly in the scene, but then you have it all in your viewports. It's still trying to figure it all out, even if it's like a packed primitive and it's instancing like a million of these things everywhere. It's still
every time you move the viewport, right?
It's going to be redrawing and recalculating all this stuff.
Yeah.
So it gets a little bit mental. Whereas if you do it procedurally, it's just thinking about render time. So per bucket, it's going to figure out what it needs.
Well, Caspian, we could do this again, and you could continue with this if you like.
Yeah, I think it'd be nice. I think I've been meaning to do some of my own personal work, just because. Yeah, I do so much work for other people now that I don't have a lot of time to do my own stuff.
Agreed. I'm the same. This was the reason why I do these streams is to make myself finish bits of work that I've just had for so long.
Yeah, I think I remember you saying it's like a quite good thing to just force yourself to just block in some time and do it. It's like us doing the Japanese.
Exactly.
We do Japanese every other Sunday, and if it's blocked in our calendar for an hour or however long, we're going to do it.
Yeah. And it gives us a chance to catch up because otherwise we only see each other every year or so.
Yeah, exactly. I'm so crap at keeping in touch with people.
Well, it's not that. I mean, you have no reason to come here anymore. I don't even live in town anymore.
Yeah.
Like before, at least you could come and stay at mine. Now it's a bit more of a pain in the butt, but
yeah,
you can come stay here anytime you like. But we probably won't be here for very much longer. So
yeah, no. I think once you move into town, let us know. You can come over for a little housewarming or something.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
You can bring those edibles you were talking about.
Yeah, actually, yeah. We were just saying today, and it was like scheming, like, ooh, maybe we could make some shortbread. Because shortbread's delicious.
Anyway, let's say goodbye and I'll end the stream.
Yeah, nice one, man. But yeah, this is fun. Thanks for having me on.
It was an absolute pleasure, obviously, and I love learning about the weird things you do that most of the words I understand, but not all of them. But it's nice to have a visual representation of it. Because I've never even seen you work. I just hear you just talk about it.
Yeah. It's weird actually when you think about it.
Josh says he's interested. I assume this is about the edibles.
Yes. Yeah. Maybe mentioned this stuff before. Like,
well, Caspian,
I'm not going to say all of that.
No. Caspian, I will. Well, I'll keep talking to you for now anyway. But we'll see you soon. Thank you, and good to hear from
guys.
Josh.
Yeah, good to hear from Josh. I'll try and get online at some point. Jump on Discord.
Bye.
All right, see ya.